Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Pooja Dalal. Today I am going to start a new topic, that is endocrine system. Now what basically is endocrine system? See, our body has a complex mechanism. So it has to be controlled in a sequence manner and it has to be controlled on time. So who does this? This is done by hormonal coordination along with nervous system. So today I am just discussing two examples how endocrine system regulates our body, and then I'll start the glands. So first example is, see, now all of you are in the age of puberty and adolescent. So whenever puberty comes in maybe girls or we talk in boys, so there are certain pubertal changes like hoarseness of voice in boys, shrillness of voice in girls. There is a onset of menarche, that is the first menstrual cycle. There is a development of mammary gland. So what are all these? These are all pubertal changes. And who is responsible for these changes? Obviously our endocrine system. So how does this happen now? See, whenever puberty or adolescent strikes you, then there is a signal from your reproductive system. That signal is carried to the brain. Over there is masters of master's gland, that is hypothalamus, and then hypothalamus gets the signal. He releases only two types of hormone, that is the releasing hormone and the inhibiting hormone. So during the puberty he will release the releasing hormone, and what is the name of this releasing hormone? Gonadotropic releasing hormone. And where that hormone goes? It goes on the gonads. So what are the gonads? It is testes in boys and ovaries in girls. So they get the signal, and then the male hormone, that is testosterone, and the female hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone, are released, and then you get the pubertal changes. So this is what? This is a switch on mechanism. So once you get the pubertal changes, then it has to be switched off. Otherwise these pubertal changes will keep on enhancing. So again the signal will go ki yes, my puberty has come. Now you just stop the action. So again the signal will go to the brain to the hypothalamus, and then hypothalamus will release inhibiting hormone, and that inhibiting hormone acts again on gonadotropic releasing hormone, that acts on gonads, that is the testes and ovaries, and then they stop the action, and then you become mature, you become adolescent. This is how this happens. This is known as feedback mechanism. Now almost every feedback mechanism in our body is negative, only few are positive. So let us discuss one feedback mechanism in the form of a schematic representation, that pubertal thing only. See, now there is a hypothalamus here. So there is a hypothalamus. What is hypothalamus? It is masters of master's gland. So hypothalamus controls which gland? It is the pituitary gland. So pituitary gland has got two types of lobes, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. But it is the anterior lobe which secretes this gonadotropin hormone, which acts on gonads. So it is the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. It is the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. So let's talk about the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. This will secrete what? It will secrete gonadotropic releasing hormone, which will act on gonads. So they will act on gonads, and these gonads are basically of two types. These are the testes in boys, and these are known as ovaries in girls. So let us talk about the testes and ovaries. So this is how they are acting. So once this is the feedback mechanism, negative feedback mechanism I am explaining. So once the puberty hits, it goes to the hypothalamus. The signal goes to the hypothalamus. Now what this hypothalamus will do? It will release the releasing hormone, gonadotropic releasing hormone. By whom? By this anterior lobe of pituitary gland. And this anterior lobe of pituitary gland acts on the gonads, that is the testes and ovaries. So once they act on gonads, then the boys and girls will have the pubertal changes, and then this testes and ovaries, basically once the puberty has hit or once these changes have come, now they have to be stopped. So they will give the signal to the hypothalamus, yes, my puberty has come. Now hypothalamus, you please stop your action. So one thing is this, And second, this will give a mechanism, inhibiting mechanism even to the pituitary gland. So this is how it stops, and this is a negative feedback mechanism. There are few feedback mechanisms which are positive. I'll discuss one of them, that is the process of delivery. See, once the process of delivery comes, so after 9 months, you must have heard that it is almost after 9 months that the fetus is mature, and then fetus will send a signal, yes, I am mature, please take me out. So that signal goes to which part? Again to the brain. Brain gives signal to again hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, what it will do? It will again release a releasing hormone, and then the posterior lobe of pituitary gland secretes a hormone, that is oxytocin, which is a birth hormone, and then that birth hormone acts on the uterus, and then it enhances the uterine contractions. It will increase the uterine contractions, and these uterine contractions, they will keep on increasing till the fetus is out, till the process of delivery, till the process of parturition. So once the fetus is out, then it will send a reflex, yes, I'm out, now stop this mechanism, and then this will go, and then it gets stopped. So this is a positive feedback mechanism which will get stopped only when the fetus is out. Okay, so this is known as a feedback mechanism of endocrine system. This part is very important. So what are the signals given by feedback mechanism? Too slow or too fast. You must have heard that there are few students in your class who has not hit their pubertal changes. There are no pubertal changes up to class 12 also. So that is there, this feedback mechanism is slow. Okay, and there are few boys and girls who hit the puberty maybe in 6th or maybe in 7th standard. So their pubertal changes are fast. So it is too slow and too fast. So this is known as feedback mechanism, and these are the commands which are given to the masters of master gland, that is hypothalamus. Now, how does this happen? This happens with the help of this endocrine system along with another system which is known as nervous system. So it is the nervous system and the endocrine system which together act and in a coordinated manner, and there are two types of glands which are released in our body. One is the exocrine gland and second is the endocrine gland. Now what are exocrine glands? These glands are also known as ducted gland. So they pour their secretion into the duct, and then duct carries to the target organs. For example, the pancreatic juice which is released by pancreas. Then there can be other bile juice. Then there can be a sweat through the sweat gland, or there can be like sebaceous gland, it secretes its sebum. So these are few examples of exocrine gland. So these exocrine gland, what they do, they pour their secretion into the duct, and then duct will carry to the target organ. Second type of gland is endocrine gland. What are endocrine gland? These are the gland which pour their secretion directly into the blood, and then blood will carry to the target organs. So they are also known as ductless glands. Now let us talk what are the ductless glands in our body. See, in the brain there are 3 glands. I talked in nervous system also. One is hypothalamus, second is pituitary gland, and third is pineal gland. In your syllabus only pituitary gland is there, but you should know that all these 3 are endocrine gland. Again, hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal gland, 3 glands. Okay, then in the neck part, so there is a thyroid, and posterior to that or behind that there is a parathyroid gland. So there are 2 glands. What are the 2 glands? Thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. Okay, and the third is in the chest region, which is thymus. And then there is in the pancreas, so that is pancreas gland, pancreatic or pancreas gland, and then on the tops they are just like the cap above the kidneys, that is known as adrenal gland, and they obviously testes in male and ovaries in female. These are the few glands which we will talk, but only 3 are in detail in your syllabus, that is pituitary gland, adrenal gland and your thyroid gland, that I will discuss one by one. Okay, so that list you please learn. See here, pituitary spelling is tough, so you have to learn the spelling of pituitary gland. Pituitary. What is the other name for pituitary gland? It is hypophysis. So these things you have to memorize here. So first I discussed what is endocrine system. Second, it is how it is coordinated along with the nervous system. So there is a control and coordination. So there is a hormonal coordination between the endocrine system and the nervous system. Then I talked about the feedback mechanism and the different types of glands. And the last thing which I will talk is hormones. Now these endocrine gland, they secrete certain chemical messengers. And what are these chemical messengers? These are known as hormones. So what are hormones? They are chemical messengers which are secreted in very small amount, very little quantity, and they always act on target organ. This is very important. What is the meaning of target organ? Suppose they are released here, but they will act here or maybe here. So some distance away from the source of secretion, that is known as target organ. They will always act on target organs. Please memorize this. So endocrine glands, they secrete a chemical messenger which is known as hormones. These hormones are chemically very active and they are released in very small amount, which always act on target organs. Okay, so like suppose one example, you can take the same example. Hypothalamus, anterior lobe of pituitary gland, it is here. Okay, and they will act on your testes and ovaries. So some distance away from the site of secretion. So that is the testes and ovaries are the target organs for this anterior lobe of pituitary gland. The hormone secreted by the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. There are many hormones that I will discuss in pituitary gland. So this is how these endocrine system works along with the hormones. Now what are hormones? First, they are chemical messengers. Second, they are required in very minute quantity. Third, which is very important, they are biologically very active in small quantity. They can be steroid based, they can be amino acid based, they can be peptides. So they can be many different types of these hormones. Little small amount, they are required in very small amount, and little increase or little decrease can lead to a condition of hypersecretion and hyposecretion. And this hypersecretion and hyposecretion of these hormones can lead to an everlasting effect, long-lasting effect. You must have heard that if a person is having diabetes, then he or she has to have the medicine for the entire life. So they are released in small amount, little increase and little slight decrease of these hormones can lead to an everlasting effect. Everlasting means the entire life you have to have once you started with the medicine. Okay, so this is how they work. So today I'll discuss only this much, and then in my next lecture I'll bring one gland. Okay, so let us write the dictation part. First you write endocrine system, important hai, E-N-D-O hai wo, endocrine. Then hormones, then third peptides, feedback mechanism, and write the name of all the glands. Hypothalamus, then pituitary. Other name of pituitary is hypophysis. H-Y-P-O, physis, P-H-Y-S-I-S or S-E-S, both are correct. Hypophysis, and then you write thyroid, parathyroid, pancreas, adrenal, testes, ovary. Okay, so these are few dictation words. What are the one marker question linked with it? They can ask you few examples of positive feedback mechanism, 2-3 examples of negative feedback mechanism. So positive feedback mechanism, there's only one example in your syllabus, that is the process of delivery, that I've already explained you. Okay, and negative feed, almost all other are negative feedback mechanism. So 2 or 3 examples you learn. You can learn one thyroid gland related. See, when thyroxine is released, how it is released? Again, hypothalamus will give a signal to the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. It will secrete TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, and this thyroid stimulating hormone will actually excite your thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine. Once the thyroxine has secreted, it has done its function. Again, a negative feedback mechanism goes to the hypothalamus, that stop it, and to the anterior lobe of pituitary gland to inhibit the secretion of TSH. This is how the negative feedback mechanism works. So 1 mark may questions normally asked the difference between the nervous coordination and the hormonal coordination. That is important. Second, what is the definition of hormones? What are hormones? What are target organs? Give 2-3 examples of feedback mechanism, and all the gland. All the gland, which is the smallest gland? It is the pituitary gland, almost a pea-sized gland. And which is the largest gland? Thyroid gland. So these are few tentative questions. Okay, so this is how it works. So I'll wind up my lecture here only. Okay, and please revise it. In my next video, I will start with the glands. Thank you. Take care.